Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for taking out time. And so, first of all, let's just start with what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a coffee actually. So I drink a lot of coffee. So what I've done is I bought one Italian machine, and which actually prepares some 5-6 kinds of coffees, and I sort of keep experimenting with different kind of beans, but it has a setting in terms of temperature and how strong do you want it, and Americano, or all the various some 6-7 settings in that. So depending on that, I keep experimenting with it. So, but nothing. There's nothing. It's all preset. So, so I just trust the Italians to have fixed, enough in their machine to make a good coffee, and which they do actually. It works out well.
Perfect. So you're one of those coffee aficionados. So I always like to piss off those coffee aficionados and say, okay, so what you're serving me is better than Nescafe, or is it not? So they get really pissed off when I say that.
But I will not comment on that.
Yeah, it's usually when the expletives come in. So yeah. So I just want to just dive in. I'm sure you've been asked about enough and more times about the campaigns and brands that you love to work on. So we'll get to that. I'm sure there's a lot of good stories, and folks would like to know that. But there's one thing which I want to ask, and just at the get go, I want to get the gloves off. Tell me about a brand, or tell me about a campaign that you absolutely hated working on. And you can mask the name of the brand and the campaign, and we'll just guess. But just tell us stuff which was like just screeching nails on a blackboard from the start, or a brand which you had an engagement with. You absolutely hated all the work which came out, and you like, if you had a choice, you would like just be off the brand. So tell us about that.
So see, thankfully, I didn't have to do that, because I ended up working with good agencies with good clients, and there are some clients who are more satisfying to work with than the others, and whenever there is a sense of partnership, people are listening to each other and respect each other's expertise, and it's more fun. But I can't really say, frankly,
I'm sure you're being really nice. I'm sure if you had to, I'm sure they were all nice ones. And considering you've been at Ogilvy and McCann and now TBWA, and I'm sure you had the best of clients. But if you stack rank them, there would be one stinky client out there. So tell me about that.
And then nothing like that. It's like there. See, as I said that. They're all great. It's like some of them are difficult to work with. Some of them are difficult to get through. But it's like there are different cultures at the organizations, at the clients, and also and you end up talking to people who are the sort of, in a way, the face of a culture behind that. But I think. Different companies have different ways of being effective. They all find their own partners. I'm sorry. I don't think. There've been some tough clients. There've been some difficult clients. There've been people who are. But yeah, clients come in wanting to make a difference to their business, wanting to do great work, and so yeah. Not all of them are easy. It's. You're lucky when you find people who share your value system, or your way of looking at a problem, or their understanding of what a great idea is or a great solution is similar to yours. So it's easy to work with them. It's fun to work with them because you're shooting for the same things. But I don't think. I haven't. I don't know. There's nothing which jumps out that a client who I hated working with. Yeah.
See, this is the reason I ask folks to have a beer or a single malt, and probably not a coffee, because then those answers are easy to elicit, right? So, but yeah, so just tell me about. I'm sure they would have been some amazing campaigns, right? And of course, take me through any one of them which absolutely stands out. But I want to just make this twist this a little bit. So I want to ask you, in that campaign or your sustained work for that one brand, what's that one thing which you really regret, right? And I'm sure there's some regret, something you could have done better, or something like something like that. So I want to know your regrets in your best work.
See, there's always I've done some great work with. I spent a lot of time in Ogilvy. I spent about 10 years in Ogilvy. I spent about 13, 14 years in McCann, and then now, in TBWA for 7 odd years. So it's so I think the first campaign that I had done many, but I think the first campaign that I was associated with, which I really loved, was Har Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai in Asian Paints, in Ogilvy, and it was good fun. See, there are always things that you look back and say that it could have been done differently, or there was this detail that you missed out on. But I think, I think sometimes the imperfections make the campaign really what they are actually. So it's not like it's like there's an interesting story about Har Ghar that we actually did a rough shoot of the idea of the film, the first film I'm talking about, when we introduced the idea. And it was a long time, we had not done the next campaign, the corporate campaign, and we used Piyush's voice in the scratch that we did, and then we presented to the client, and it was good fun. Everybody loved it, and then we got the go ahead, and we started producing the film from scratch, and wanted the best possible voice and filmmaker. It was QED, Arjun and Dadu and Arindam, who went around looking for professional voices, which will make the film better. And then they came back to the same voice. Actually, they found that there was a certain khurdarapan, there was a certain roughness and authenticity to Piyush's voice, which added so much, to that particular film. So it's like sometimes I think the roughness or the half finishedness or a little detail which got left out, which adds to the charm of a certain creative. And everything can get better, but I think there is something magical about some things which come together and just make something hit, and you can't really subsequently sort of decode the magic and rebottle it and try and recreate it. It doesn't happen. So I think those imperfections and everything, they're also part of the magic in some form.
Absolutely, and probably you can connect the dots looking backwards, like somebody famous said. But like going forward, you don't know that where the magic is actually coming from. So appreciate that. Tell me about some other absolutely memorable campaign, probably from those early days, something which folks would have seen, something you want to double click on.
Yeah. So then I sort of moved to McCann, and McCann we did. It was again the journey started with two grand FEs actually, and it was the two were one was Saffola Kalse. It was a brand meant for it was heart health and all that in those days. And the interesting thing about that was really that it was meant for people who were suffering from heart diseases, so who already had some sort of a heart incident, and therefore by definition it was a shrinking sort of an audience. People who were consuming it were already heart patients. So we changed the narrative, and we got it before. We said, Saffola is not meant for people who already had a heart issue, but people who are most likely to, because we sort of on the right side of the heart, incident, so to say. And then it's like, then we found that it's like somehow people don't really acknowledge that they are aging or their heart might be aging, and therefore this entire incident about Kal Se Re was the first campaign that we did, or Samjho Ishare, or 18 Till I Die, or Abhi To Main Jawan Hoon. So we actually went around puncturing the sort of pretension that I'm as young that I was, and basically get people to start taking care of their heart and their life lifestyle earlier. Samjho Ishare was one of the campaigns, and it won a grand FE So, I mean, again, the interesting thing about that was that when we started the campaign, we broke all the. I mean, there was no oil shot in that film, so it was all about puncturing, all these excuses people give themselves to not
And
take care of their. Huh?
sorry, and the brand was okay with that. Like if you didn't have a shot of an oil or oil pouring and like yummy looking food and all that, so there was no brand manager breathing down your neck saying "Meko product shot chahiye."
No, so there were some people who were interested in that, and but I think I mean, at least at that time, Sagato was the head of marketing, and he blessed it, and the rest is history. The brand continued to do very well subsequently because it connected to the mindset, and almost, I mean, Saffola became a sort of brand in a category of one. I mean, when it talked about heart health, so it was good fun. Doing something different. And the second one we did was, of course, Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola. I mean, that was a famous campaign and
Iconic.
iconic campaign. And essentially, yeah, so the brand was struggling to find a role in the culture. And, this famous, basically, I mean, there's enough being said about it, but I think it was good fun to figure out to create different narratives around different parts of the country and different aspects of the product and punch. And so it was good fun. It was making Coca-Cola relatable to the masses, and found a cultural role for the brand. Thanda matlab Coca-Cola. So that was interesting. So yeah, and
so if I'm not wrong, Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola were being those were directed by Ashutosh Gowarikar, right? If I'm not wrong. Or at least
not
some
all
of
of them.
some of them.
Yeah.
Because I heard some conjecture that probably that campaign had some role to play in India's entry eventually to the Oscars. Like, so it's a far stretch. Probably some part of that relationship got built there, and eventually we saw that magic translate into the movie it actually became. So do you think that's true, or that's just putting stuff together?
Yeah, I mean, see, it's very difficult to sort of fix that this was the genesis of that. Things are happening. I mean, I haven't heard this, but yeah, I mean, people get inspired by different things. And so, I mean, it was an iconic campaign. It found a way to connect a multinational brand with, and made it sound very Indian, and made it very, so a sense of pride in being an Indian, or finding an Indian voice. I think, yeah, I mean, it all happened in that. So, I mean, yeah, who knows? He might have been inspired by that also. Yeah.
So I think one of the things which I really like about some of the campaigns that you spoke about, and I think some of the campaigns of that era would be the sheer simplicity of the human insight. And like, I'm just contrasting it to stuff that you see win nowadays, and I'm not going to be the one to criticize that large part of the stuff is bad, or I'm in no place to do that. Probably you are, but that's for another show. But I just say that probably a lot of winning work has some technological intervention. You've used AI to put in names of shopkeepers, and of course that's winning work from Mondelez. And so there's something there, and probably the technological enablement for that creative idea is what makes it stand apart. But what I see in a lot of these campaigns, whether it's Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola or Har Kuch Kehta Hai, I think they're very they played on the existing media channels, the stuff which folks were consuming. From a distribution perspective, I don't think the innovation lay there. The innovation lay at figuring out the platform, figuring out the creative rendition, and then packaging it in the way that it gets the point across. And I think that's the beauty of and timelessness of some of those campaigns, that they're not dependent on technology for distribution or any guerrilla gimmick there. But these are stories which would do just as well if they were released in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I think see, those are relatively simpler times for sure, and it was easy to get to your audiences based on the classical traditional media. And now it is fragmented. I mean, to get through to your audiences, they're spending a lot more time on various kinds of screens, and therefore so I mean, it's to me, I mean, maybe I'm old school, but I feel that I believe in the primacy of the idea. And of course, I mean, you refer to technology, and I think technology and all the other new formats, and they just make newer form of storytelling possible. I mean, so it's not like, if your audience is on mobile, or if there is a way through AI to personalize a piece of communication for a certain target audience, I think it's amazing. I think, it's so. So I think the way the evolution is happening, I mean, I at least come from a place where I feel that the connection between the brand and the consumer, I mean, there has to be an idea. There has to be a way of making the brand relevant. And then, of course, I mean, use amazing forms of new platforms that are available to, and what the new possibilities that they bring in. We should use all of them to, and all of them have a specific role in the lives of people, and we should use that role to create different forms of storytelling. Each medium has a different way of engagement, and it sort of forces you to think stories in a very, very different form. But the way to engage with people, I mean, I don't think that changes. The formats change, the role changes, and everything else changes. But ultimately, what Mondelez did is that it made every shopkeeper feel special. So the human motivations are the same. I mean, how do you use the idea is not. I mean, at least I feel that it's not to use the technology for the sake of using technology, but to make a deeper connection with your audience, or a more personal connection with the consumers and with people and communities. So I think the newer things are possible now, which were not possible then. But as newer things are becoming more possible, I think one should have fun with all the formats.
Agree. I think quite interesting. I think what I like is that some things don't change, and some things will keep changing, and one must be open to embracing all of this new change, just because it's new ways of telling stories. But I think there's one thing which never changes, which is what which is like buzzwords in marketing, right? So probably for during Mondelez this time AI was, and I think probably AI is now, right? And I think that's one thing which never changes. Probably at the beginning of the pandemic, it was, hey, what are we going to do in Web3 and the metaverse and stuff like that. And now suddenly the metaverse is gone. So now suddenly it's what are we going to do with AI? And I'm pretty sure you would have enough and more clients coming up to you and say that, hey, what's our strategy? And then we just need some intel on this. So how does that feel, that every time there's a shiny new toy, there's marketing folks coming on to you and say, isko kya karne ka hai? And then and I also want to ask, which is the most overused marketing buzzword that just makes you cringe every time you hear of it? and don't say AI, because AI has now become that, but tell me about that.
But see, there is one in for every season, right? So so the thing is that see, the technology is changing, and you're right. I mean, during COVID, even the consuming behavior changed. I mean, people, there was certain digital acceleration of sorts because you're sitting at home. So the way you consumed, I mean, people who are not very familiar with doing e-commerce got used to it and became pretty. And so I think that happened, and I think there's a sort of a feeling which happened that the world has changed in a dramatic, irreversible sort of a way, and we got to be playing into all these new things, and we have to be one step ahead of the customer, and all these buzzwords, the sense that the change is coming. And I mean, of course, I mean, the thing that, I mean, see, so it's I mean, as I find, I mean, my sense is there are a lot of people have gone back to the old ways in a significant way. And of course, there is a space for all the new things also. But I mean, it's like the last couple of years, there was this metaverse happening. But for metaverse to happen, there are just too many things which need to happen. I mean, so it's an idea which is interesting, a sort of 3D web experience. I mean, if you are living into this, and it feels very sci-fi, it feels very, and I'm sure it will happen in some form or the other. But for example, this what Apple is calling spatial computing is also probably one step in in that direction. The Vision Pro launch. So I think all these pieces will fall in together. But I think people, it's like, at least I feel that uh, people consume things at the rate they make sense to them or they are relevant to them. It's not
Absolutely.
like just because you're marketers. I mean, if you make certain things easy for them to do, or more useful to them, they will adopt it. And just because we are getting excited by some things, but and see, there is a role for that as well. I mean, there is because there will be always people who are ahead of the curve, innovators who are getting excited by the newer things. But the mass adoption, that happens at its own pace, depending on how useful it is. How so To your question, I'm a bit of a geek myself. I mean, I get, I find all these new buzzwords sort of create some sort of anxiety in me because there is so much to learn. There's so much new happening, and you find like you struggle to keep pace with all the new stuff. I mean, like there's a friend of mine who's given me, some massive reading material on what to do on on AI, on the various kinds of prompts for ChatGPT, or for Midjourney, and
Very cool.
various things. What can you do on that, and how can you? So I'm just sometimes when I have some time, I'm just trying to figure out. So I mean, it's exciting. It's really, I mean, the kind of things that you can do now on the basis of a client sort of presentation, something that took a significant amount of time. Now you can knock it out, at least for internal presentations, very quickly, with the visuals and with ChatGPT's help,
Yeah.
and ChatGPT, in the kind of, if you ask the right questions, it gives you, at least at a junior account planner level, answers very quickly. So you can.
The junior account planners listening to this are not happy with that response. The chat GPT is coming for your jobs. But Midjourney is quite crazy, right? And it's like you put in, like, if you're smart enough in writing a prompt, you
Yeah,
and you want to put in say a world leader as a clown. Probably like you could do a mock of the Benetton campaign, if you remember that, where world leaders were kissing each other. You could do that just with a
yeah,
snap of a finger, and it takes 30 seconds, and you have the most craziest output in front of you. uh,
yeah,
how do you think that,
yeah.
actually, I want to double click on that since you brought that up,
Uh,
chat GPT from a copy perspective and at a planner and copywriting perspective, and Mid Journey and some of those tools which are coming out from for art and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure there's more that you've probably read up on. Just tell me about how that now sits with the traditional work stream of an ad agency and how they speak to brands. Do you think it's going to replace, it's going to complement, it's going to do a bit of both? Like, where's your thinking at on this?
Yeah, so at this point in time, I think at least in our group, we have there's a directive that we're not doing client work right now on that because there are issues on copyright and things like that, and then multiple things which need to still get sorted. But internally, I think there are kids in our teams who are playing with it, and yeah, there are some very interesting things which are possible. ChatGPT, it's fairly like easy to do. Um, you know, Something which would consume a lot of time in terms of a background research or figuring out, simple concepts, and actually figuring out, So I think it gives you a sense. It still lacks human imagination because I think, to your question. Uh, it's like one of our clients, Fractal, we had they wanted to be an AI player a few years back, and we had sort of crafted a tagline for them: intelligence for imagination. And the
Very cool.
point was really that there is this work which is repetitive and is not necessarily very value adding, and is the classical chore which you can let out for the AI, and so that it liberates the human mind to imagine, which only they can do, which only humans can do, to seek the possibilities and to genuinely be creative about what is possible. So I think I subscribe to that view that humans and the ability to imagine things and to be able to be creative is something that that will be strictly human, and even will continue to be. But of course, there are multiple schools of thought, and like there are people who are a bit scared about, and including Sam Altman, about what could be the possibilities, and it's growing at an exponential level, and what's possible and what's not possible. I don't know what will happen, and apparently it has shown some emergent capabilities which it was not trained for. So how do so there
Yeah.
are all kinds of things which are there.
Yeah, so there was this news on that from, I think, Google. I think one of the engineers resigned,
Yeah.
saying that probably what they were working on, which I think eventually became Bard, it became sentient or something like that, and then they rubbished it and stuff like that. But who knows, right? Who knows if Skynet is self-aware or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's this guy who came out and said that he had a conversation with an AI, and it was almost as if that AI was sentient, and so yeah, and there are people who've been working in that space for a long time who are a bit wary and careful about sort of what happens going forward, and what can be the so it's an unknown territory for everyone, right? I mean, so there are people like Yuval Harari and Elon Musk who are very smart people who think like this is finally humanity has created something which is more intelligent and can take over, and anything can happen. So there are those two schools of thought, and the other, of course, is that it will serve humanity. It'll make humans do things which are not possible to do, or humans should not be doing. So all that is there. And so as far as using at the work is concerned, I mean, it's like to do a storyboard in Midjourney is it's very easy now. I mean, you can actually
Like 5 minutes.
properly
Yeah.
you
So
can you can do you can imagine a film shot by shot, and give a short breakdown and create a storyboard in almost unimaginable time, and there are things like that which are possible now. I mean, so yeah, but we'll see. I mean, how it evolves. But yeah, exciting times. I mean, the possibilities are crazy. Yeah.
So if I distill everything that you said in probably one sentence, for a creative mind, these tools can probably act as an assistant for now. And
Yeah.
at best, it's a creative mind assistant. Whether it becomes sentient eventually and starts wanting to take over the world, we'll see about that. But I definitely see, like in one of the infamous advertising marketing award shows, I at least see some work written and executed by AI winning something. Whether it happens this year or next year, but I don't see that as very far, which is solely written and executed, because we already have those AI influencers which are kind of cringe at another level, but it is what it is. And I think even Aaj Tak had that AI anchor called, I think they named her something funny, but
Yeah. There are these virtual influencers, and I mean, all kinds of things are happening for sure. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
So what were we saying?
No, I was just yeah.
So I think one thing which just comes out is that whether technologies come and go, I think the love for buzzwords and the love for new technologies and new ways of doing old things, because somehow the basics are some things which are probably not as sexy as the new shiny toy which is available in the market. So I think the average brand manager will always go looking out that, hey, this is where my next promotion lies, and something that probably is easy to get through the door, because probably the VP isn't that well read into it for now. So maybe those backdoor entries to doing good work will continue to exist and continue to make money. So yeah, cool. So what I have right now, Govind, planned is, I just want to put you in the spot and just do some one-word answers, right? Just the one. So I want to call it rapid fire, but to make sure that it's rapid and full of fire, taking inspiration from other coffee shows which are less popular. So we'll start those, and what I want from you is that the everything that you say needs to be, first of all, rapid, and secondly, full of fire. So whenever you're ready, we'll just go. You don't get a coffee hamper. Probably you get a, if you get sponsors down the line, you'll get a pressure cooker sent to your house. But we'll see how things go. So we'll go. Let's just start. Okay, so that's where
Full
we
profit.
are.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's where we are. Okay, so let's just start. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
so
Yeah.
Govind, the advertising jingle that you can't get out of your head.
Washing powder, Nirma.
Love that. Uh, tell me about tell me about an Indian brand which desperately needs a refresh.
Godrej, Anchor, a lot, quite a few. I mean, these iconic brands which, yeah, yeah.
I hope folks at Godrej are listening. Cricket or Bollywood, which ambassadors sway the audience more?
Um, I think my sense is Bollywood, because I mean they are able to emote and get the response that they're looking for.
Perfect. And this is one which really like asking folks is that creds marketing. Do you think it's genius or stupidity?
So I'm not a big fan of Kretz work. I mean, it's like you do anything to get attention, and you know, uh, I mean, I can understand what they're trying to do, but with that kind of money, uh, I would do different things and do things differently.
Okay, got that. The last work you really loved.
Yeah, actually, that it's been a while that something touched me or sort of moved me in that way. Uh, but
So super high standards. Net. Okay. Okay.
no, I mean, yeah.
Okay. So this one is going to be a little. So I'll give you a little extra time to think. Which brand's tagline do you think can also be used as a pickup line?
Wow. Sorry.
Washing powder, Nirma?
I
Probably
mean,
not.
yeah, I mean that. I mean, it could be. I mean, Hema, Rekha, Jaya, something. There are those names which follow that, right?
Okay. So it's like Mama number 5, Monica, Erica. So it's like Hema, Hema, Rekha, Sushma. Quite love that. So this is I think so FMCG or consumer tech, the hotter place for a young marketer.
I think consumer tech would be more, because I think it. I mean, I'm assuming uh, it sort of provides you an environment to do more modern marketing. I mean, and there is a consumer part of it, and there is a tech part of it, and I think to be able to do a full funnel thinking, it's easier to be in a consumer tech space. Yeah.
Makes sense. One brand you absolutely loved working with, and you can't say Asian Paints, and you can't say Coca-Cola.
I really enjoy working on JSW paints. I mean, they are the brands
Yes.
which I currently work on,
Yeah.
and we've been. I mean, we were hired by them almost on day 2. So we've been instrumental in designing their logo, their packaging, not just the graphic, but the structural part of it. And they, I mean, it's a, and yeah, I mean, it's good to be able to shape the thinking on the brand together. So yeah, I mean, I would say that
Very cool.
I mean, all my clients, I love working, but
I knew you were going to come up with some kind of this thing, na, कि
no, but
मेरे लिए
if
सब बच्चे बराबर हैं, but this one is
no, but I took a name, right? I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
No, so it's quite cool actually. That's a unconventional choice. So I'll
yeah.
probably check out more of their work. Tell me the brand with the best social media game today, the one which probably you get the most screenshots of. Most popular choices here is Zomato for some reason, but yeah, you can't say Zomato because
No, I would
everybody.
say, I mean, the top of mind for me is motorbikes. So when we work on, with some premium motorbike cycling from TVS, so I end up
Yeah.
following a lot of TVS and Royal Enfield and the Bajaj Pulsar. I mean, so that kind of things. I mean, in my case, they have they feature a lot more on my
On your
my
feed,
feed.
yeah. Royal Enfield is quite good with their social media game, right? That's what I've been seeing. They're quite, and considering that like no points for how they've been building and stuff, which are unfair advantages to them, but quite good. So props to them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if there's one social media account, and this can be even a person, right, and not only a brand. You get to hack it for a day, and you unleash yourself on it, and nobody gets to know that it was you. So, whose social media would you want to hack? So
I
it can
mean,
be anybody from Elon Musk to Nirma washing powder and everything in between.
I mean, by the way, I mean, Barack Obama follows me on Twitter. So
What are you
on
saying?
Twitter, yeah. So
What are you saying?
I mean, I didn't know that, but somebody pointed it out that it is that, but I have no idea why. But I'll go with Sam Altman actually at this point in time.
I guessed as much. Sam, everybody would want to just probably
Yeah.
put up a scare tweet and saying that, hey, this is the AI speaking and Sam is dead, something like that. I would love to fuck around with that and just bring people.
Yeah.
More,
Yeah, it'll be good to figure out because he exactly knows, what's gone into, ChatGPT and the entire, the training sets and what
Yeah.
it's capable of. And obviously he's trying to warn everybody, but at the same time, I mean, so it'll be good to, I mean, he's become the definitive voice of what's possible on AI right now. So it'll be good to have some fun with his handle.
Cool. So the last question, and this is again, I would put you in a spot. So if ad agencies were Bollywood stars, who would be Shah Rukh Khan?
I think, I mean, Ogilvy has been clearly sort of, been on the top of the pack for a few years now, for 30
Yeah.
years. And yeah, so I think it'll be them.
So somebody who's been there for a while, been at the top for a while. So then who would be Amitabh Bachchan then? Out of the ad agencies, somebody who's been there for a longer while.
Maybe Swami's or somebody.
Swami.
or
Good response.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, they've been around for a while, and even I think the agencies like I think Lowe and Walter, which have been around for, I mean, but they've been also around for roughly the same size. I mean, same time. So it's
Which one would be Ranveer Singh?
I would say, I mean, I admire Leo Burnett quite a bit. I mean, off late they've done quite a few good things. They're on a, they got something going for them. So yeah, I admire them. I think it could be probably them.
So the last one is going to be the toughest. Which ad agency would be Rakhi Sawant?
It'll not be probably an ad agency. It'll be some like event agency or PR agency, which I'm not fully well versed with. But they're like, see, she has no idea or no standing, but she gets attention for sure. Yeah. So I think it'll be more like some event agency.
Okay. So sly jibe at event agencies, but I'll let you get away with that. So thank you very much, Govind. Thank you very much for that rapid fire round. I would have wanted a little more rapid, but I think we got some good responses out of you. So at the end, I just want to ask you one question, and I guess a lot of folks listening to this would be mid-career, trying to get somewhere, probably at a certain juncture. So for marketing folks or for people on the agency side of things, for people in marketing, advertising, content, PR. So I'm just going to put all of them in one group. For folks who are just starting out and just trying to make it, what do you think? And like, what are things considering the things that we've discussed today? Like we've discussed a lot of things getting reinvented with AI and whatnot, and probably a lot of jobs which are currently not in existence will be very, very important in another 5 years. So what's your words of wisdom, words of advice for folks who are at that position right now?
See, I mean, I'm a big believer in the virtues of curiosity. Whatever you're doing, you have to be a constant learner. There are some fundamentals of the craft in whichever part of the marketing space you are in, and understanding your audience, understanding other people. I think the starting point to me has always been a sort of sense of curiosity about understanding people and what makes them work and what makes them who they are. So eventually, through any of these things, we are trying to make an impact or trying to make a difference to people. So I think an ability to relate with people, to understand people, always there, and of course being in touch with all these things actually, because I mean we live in such exciting times that there are newer things coming in, so be an aware user of all the new things which are happening, or at least as much as you can know. And the other thing always is that it's like there used to be a T-type personality that you should have a general understanding of a lot of things and one deep understanding of one of the things. Now people talk about a pie kind of a personality, that you should have at least two verticals. two sort of set of skill sets which you are like really good in, and a lot of things at a general level of depth. So yeah, I mean, I think curiosity, learning, um, they are they hold you in good stead, because the more you learn, I mean, as the other thing is that you become obsolete when your rate of learning is less than the rate of change. so
I agree.
yeah, so you got to keep learning.
So on that note, thank you so much, and I think that's really amazing pieces of advice, because I'm just taking out that one word from it, that as long as you're curious, you'll find your way through.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Govind, for doing this.